So in the last video, we talked about nutrition. So I was thinking, let's talk about training. So should you train, or how do I train, or how do the professional bodybuilders train? Well, basically, you should work out every muscle twice a week, in my opinion. And also that's the opinion of most pro bodybuilders. Once a week is also possible if you have, 20 sets and a lot of recovery time and stuff like that. But in general, I would say probably every 4 to 5 days, something like that. So what I would do is usually I would take, the split it into 3 days. In my case, sometimes I do 4 days, but in my case, typically it's what I do. I have back and shoulders on one day, then I have legs on one day, and then I have chest and arms on another day. Now you could have shoulders on its own, or you can have arms, biceps, triceps on its own. But each time, what I do personally, you see, I like to go work out on an empty stomach first thing in the morning without any food. That works really well for me. If I have too much food in my stomach, if I go at night, I have a lot of energy, but I like it to be flat and empty, and it's better for me for just, I function better. That's just my personal preference. And also I go because I get it out of the way and it's done and I don't have to think about it. So I go on an empty stomach first thing in the morning. You don't have as much energy as if you had a few meals in your system. However, it's much better to burn fat because you're in the fat burning phase. You do exercise in the morning. That's ideal. So what I do is I go on an empty stomach. And then first I drink some water, and then I have maybe some caffeine just to have some clarity and some power. But in general, I just drink water, nothing else. And then what I do is I do my workout. Let's say I do back and shoulders, just as an example. And let's say for the back, I do 3 exercises, and I try to do between 3 to 5 sets per exercise. In general, I try to target 5. For example, I do, let's say, 5 lat pull downs, 5 rowing, cable rows, and then maybe 3 sets of deadlifts, for example. That could be a back workout. And it's a short one. It's not really all that big. I rather, do maybe every 4 days I work out the back instead of having it, because I know myself when I do 5, 6 exercises, lots of sets, I can do it, but then usually I'm tired and exhausted for a few days, especially when it comes to back because it's a big muscle. Then also I focus less on the actual weight to lift heavy. I focus on the contraction to flex the muscle, the mind-body connection, to really focus on, as if you're posing almost. So I try to only take as much weight to kind of feel the muscle, because if I just try to get as much weight as possible and I don't feel it, it usually doesn't get enough blood flow into the muscle, and that kind of defies the purpose. And young people usually, they think they need to lift heavy, and yes, it can make you stronger. However, I feel like if you can't feel the muscle, it's almost pointless. You should always have a tension on the muscle. So instead of, let's say, if you do, biceps, and you go all the way down to, let's say, 0, and then all the way up to 100. The problem is you lose the tension in between. So it's better to just go maybe start at 20 and go up to 80. You know what I mean? And then go back to 20 and then do make shorter reps, but you have a constant tension on the muscle. Now, what I ideally do is something like this. Let's say I do 5 sets, okay? And let's say I start with 50 pounds, just an example, whatever the exercise is, 50. The next step, I go to 60. Then the next set, I go to 70. Then to 80, then to 90, and then to 100. So I'm trying to increase the weight with each set. And I usually start maybe with 15 reps, and then 12, 10, 8, 6. So I go up with the weight, and I go down with the reps. But I start somewhere, between 15 and 20. And then maybe at the very end, I do like a pump set with like just 20 reps. To really get the muscle, pumped and the blood flow going. So you try to increase the weight as the more sets you do, but you lower the reps. That usually works well for me and for others. Ideally, 8 to 12 reps is the range where you build most muscle. And I would say you should have, at least 3 exercises of 3 to 4 sets as a minimum per muscle group. I know that some of my friends who are actually professional bodybuilders, they do about 20 sets per muscle group, which is a lot of volume. So, and that also sometimes means you have to recover a little bit longer. So I think, if you're a normal person or somewhat normal, nobody's normal. Normal is sitting on the dryer, right? So there's no normal. But let's say if you work and this and that, and you don't have as much time, you can't spend, 2 or 3 hours at the gym. Do 3 exercises, do 3 to 4 sets each. So about 10, in total per group. That should be enough, Also, try to have maybe shorter breaks. Don't talk, don't use your phone, or just only for music or whatever. But don't, get distracted and have long breaks or talk to your friends and this and that, because it's basically not effective. You always want to have like a pulse, you want to be breathing and sweating so that it's like your metabolism is going. So you work out, you finish your workout, 45 minutes, an hour and 15 minutes, somewhere along there. Let's say you work out for an hour. You're finished, and at the last set, after you're finished, you immediately go onto the cardio machine. In my case, I use the elliptical, and I do 20 minutes of cardio right away. Because you're already in the fat-burning zone after like 35 minutes of having a higher pulse. So you just keep on continuing with the fat burning. If I do a competition, I start always with 20, then I go to 30 minutes, and then to 45 minutes. And that's usually 45 minutes is a long time. Let's say it's almost like, we work out for an hour 15, another 45 minutes, you're there for 2 hours. So, but that's like more as you prepare for a competition. Then what I usually do too is I make sure I have between 8,000 and 10,000 steps. So I do a lot of walking. For me, I'm not a runner. I can't run, but I can walk. And we have a lake. I walk around the lake. It's 3.3 miles. That usually works well for me. And I try to have a brisk walk, or sometimes walk, run, for 30 seconds, and then walk again for a minute, then run for 30 seconds, and walk for a minute. So you don't have to do jogging, because that's not ideal for a bodybuilder, because you want to not burn muscle, you want to just burn fat. But a constant, let's say it's a pulse for between 140 and 150 is ideal, somewhere, or let's say 130 and 150. If you can maintain that would be great, okay? So I would have a workout, let's say 20 minutes of cardio, and then maybe later another hour walk or something like that. So you have like almost 2 training sessions. But the second half, can be in the afternoon or evening. And it's usually something where I put on my headphones, I put on, TikTok or YouTube or something, or listen to music. And it's when my kids have activities. They go to a softball game, or go to the ice skating rink. And I walk around the field or the neighborhood or something like that, just to pass the time, because I have to be there anyway, so I might as well just be moving, okay? So that's what I do. So I do, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, then start again with day 1 on Thursday. So Monday's day 1, Tuesday day 2, Wednesday's day 3, and then Thursday would be day 1, Friday day 2, Saturday day 3. And if I need a break, I take a break. But honestly, I do not take breaks. I hate breaks. I feel like it's like brushing your teeth. You should do it every day, whether you feel like it or not. And if you don't feel great, go through the motions. But inconsistency is a bad habit. So if you don't go, you usually, it's worse than going. And I feel like if you split it up into, different body parts, you should be okay. It should be fine. So no breaks unless you absolutely need it. Or a break means on that day you do an hour or 2 of cardio. So there is no breaks really. Okay, breaks is it's not good. Because once you get into habit of having a break, one day becomes a week, and then, it's just not good. So work out hard, work out heavy, work out as much as you can, but focus on the muscle contraction, feel the muscle, and do your cardio once or twice a day.